Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you guys today to our podcast. I'm Jack,
And I'm Ryan.
and today we're going to be talking about the rise of TikTok and the role it plays in American pop culture today. So, welcome to our final project discussion, and we're going to talk about how this platform has shaped everything from entertainment to politics over the last 3 years.
That's right. We've seen TikTok become a cultural powerhouse, especially since the pandemic, and it's only grown since then. Today we're going to look at how it connects to different aspects of popular culture. For instance, racial and gender dynamics, as well as historical movements in art, music, and even activism.
Exactly. And we're going to tie this back to what we've learned in class. So, let's dive in. First, let's talk about what makes TikTok such a unique platform in 2024 and why it's become so influential.
Yeah, so TikTok was launched globally in 2017, but its impact truly exploded, in the last few years that we've had it. During the COVID-19 pandemic, when many people were stuck at home, TikTok sort of became like an escape and a form of self-expression. But it's not just about viral dances or funny memes anymore. It's now some sort of like a tool for political engagement, social justice movements, and even, shaping trends in music today.
Yeah, Ryan, I remember, at least for me, during COVID, I would just be scrolling all day and laughing at all the memes, but I really feel since then the app has gotten more serious and targeted like different audiences, I'd say.
Right.
This app has become a place where anyone can go viral, regardless of their background. You don't need to be a celebrity or a professional content creator to build a massive following. And that's something really unique to this platform compared to traditional media we see nowadays.
Exactly, and if we look back at the 1960s, especially during the counterculture movement, people were using music festivals, protests, and even rock and roll to voice their opinions and challenge the establishment. Today, I'd say TikTok serves as like a similar function to that. It's an outlet for young people like us, particularly marginalized groups, to share their experiences and express their identities.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of marginalized groups, TikTok has been especially important for people of color, the LGBTQ plus community, and women. For example, many Black creators have used the platform to challenge stereotypes, share cultural moments, and even launch careers. I can think of a number of Black TikTok influencers that you had no idea who they were, and they've just made themselves a following. So that's super cool and unique to the app. And yeah, TikTok has given voices to people who often felt overlooked by traditional media.
Yeah, well said. So now, let's dig into the racial and gender dynamics on TikTok. One of the most fascinating things that we've seen in Black creators in particular have influenced mainstream trends, from dance challenges to fashion and language. In fact, right now there's a significant conversation happening about just the appropriation of Black culture on TikTok, where non-Black influencers often capitalize on viral trends without giving credit to the creators who actually did start them.
Yeah, and this goes beyond just cultural appropriation. TikTok also amplifies issues of racial inequality. For example, movements like the hashtag Black Lives Matter and the hashtag MeToo movement have found space on TikTok, where young activists have been able to spread awareness and organize in ways that weren't possible for social media. It's great to see an app like TikTok cater to mostly young audiences, still having a political and serious side, and have a way to inform these younger audiences, because they probably don't watch the news and stuff. And it's like the way rock and roll music festivals and the counterculture of the 60s pushed forward political and cultural ideas.
Exactly. The platform has allowed women and marginalized groups or genders to speak out, and in many cases, it has become a space for, social activism. TikTok influencers often use their platform to advocate for issues like, body positivity, mental health awareness, and reproductive rights. And I'd say like this is very much a continuation of the feminist movements we've studied, and the feminist waves pushing against traditional norms. But this time, in a way, it's happening online with a newer generation of young women at the forefront.
Yeah, that's a great point, Ryan. TikTok gives a direct voice to people who previously didn't have access to mainstream media. And speaking of accessibility, we also see how TikTok has changed the way people consume media based on socioeconomic status. The platform has become a space where anyone with a smartphone can create and share content. It's super easy, anyone can do it, without the need for fancy equipment or expensive production costs. This has made media creation far more inclusive and accessible.
Well said, and if we look back at the history we've studied, this idea of changing media has roots in the post-World War II period. The 1950s and 1960s saw the rise of new technologies like television, which was another way to get culture messages out to the masses, much like how TikTok functions today. I mean, we saw how television gave rise to celebrity culture and political figures back in the 60s, much as TikTok has amplified our influencers today.
Exactly. And TikTok is also evolving how music is consumed and appreciated in a way that ties back to the history of rock and roll. Remember the cultural shifts we discussed when rock music hit the mainstream? The explosion of genres and the rise of youth culture? TikTok plays a similar role today in how music is discovered. Viral songs are often propelled by TikTok trends, and artists now depend on their platform to promote their work.
Yeah, and we can't forget how TikTok is sort of shifting the way people view and also interact with politics. Just like how the counterculture of the 60s used music festivals and protests as, I guess you could say, political statements. And TikTok, I'd say, is a platform where political activism is definitely amplified, with young people leading the charge for change. And it's also a space where young voters are, being mobilized ahead of elections.
Yeah, those are some great points, Ryan. So we've covered a lot about TikTok's influence, but let's take a step back and talk about whether we see this phenomenon as beneficial or detrimental to society. Personally, I think it's a little bit of both. It's a powerful tool for social change and cultural expression, especially being able to reach out to younger audiences. But it also contributes to issues like the spread of misinformation and the pressure on creators to constantly perform. I think about this like, we say a benefit of TikTok is it's anybody can do it, you don't need equipment, but that means anybody can post whatever they want, making misinformation a real and dangerous problem.
Yeah, I definitely can agree to that. On one hand, TikTok has empowered voices that I guess you could say were historically silenced, and it's given people from all walks of life the opportunity to shape our culture. But on the other hand, the platform can be problematic. It fosters a constant desire for validation, I guess you could say, and some of the viral trends can easily be appropriated without proper credit. So, it's sort of a double-edged sword, if you want to say it like that.
Yeah, that's a great analogy there, Ryan. Overall, TikTok is a fascinating example of how technology and social media continue to shape pop culture. Just like the cultural movements we studied throughout the semester, it's a space where we see art, politics, and identity intersect in new and exciting ways.
Absolutely, and we'll likely continue to see how it evolves in the years to come. I just wanted to take this time to thank you for listening, and we hope that this gave you some insight into TikTok and its place in American pop culture today.
Thanks again. Be sure to check our sources for more in-depth analysis, and we look forward to seeing how future trends continue to shape the culture that we know today.